It is possible. It is just possible that the best thing that ever happened in America was that John McCain lost and Obama won. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because for the last 45 or 50 years, this country has been moving slowly, sometimes a little more quickly, to the left. We had an 8-year hiatus with a guy by the name of Ronald Reagan. But other than that, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter whether it was George Bush the first, George Bush the second, Bill Clinton. It didn't matter. We always kept moving to the left. Higher costs, more government. I saw it in Congress. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I had to vote against my own party, against the president. All that time, you know, being called in by the Speaker of the House, or by, at that time, Tom DeLay, the whip, and they'd say, you keep this up, Tancredo, this voting against us, constantly attacking the president, and you're going to ruin your career in this place. And I said, Tom, of all the things you could possibly threaten me with, ruining my career in this place has no cachet whatsoever. I don't want a career in this place. It's not why I came to Congress. But so many of my colleagues, that's exactly why they're there. Remember, it goes back to the issue I said. It's just being in power. That's all that matters. It's not principle. It's just being in power. And so for years, we saw this drift to the left. It's the old thing about the frog in the water, you know, where all these frogs in the water, and the water was being turned up just a little bit at a time, and there wasn't much of a response to it. But it was happening, man. We were boiling in a socialist stew pot, and it was just getting worse, and nobody was. And so all of a sudden, this guy by the name of Barack Obama appears out of nowhere, gets elected to the presidency, and turns up the heat to the top frame. And now everybody's going, whoa, what's going on here? And I'll tell you why I say it could be a good thing. Because you see, if we had elected John McCain, we'd be going down exactly that same road. Same leftward stance. And nobody, but the difference is, now, okay, maybe not as quickly, I'm not going to say that. He probably wouldn't have had a health care bill right off the get-go. But the direction would have been the same. And the end result would have been the complete lack of freedom. I don't know when it would have happened. I don't know, exactly the year. I can't predict. But I will tell you, that's what we were going toward. It was inevitable, it seemed like. Because it just doesn't seem like it ever mattered who we elected. They would stand in front of every audience and promise to not vote for a bigger government, and it got bigger every single year. So, what I'm saying to you is, because Barack Obama was elected, and because that heat got turned up so high, you're here. And you would not be here otherwise. And we'd all be saying, well, you know, what are we going to do? John McCain's the president, and yeah, we don't like some of these things, but hey, he's on our side. You know, he's our guy. He's the Republican. We can't. So there'd be no Republican opposition. There'd be very little Democrat opposition, yet the movement would have been in that direction. So it's just possible, guys, and I don't know. You know, we're going to have to pray that we can hold on to this country for the next 2.5 years, certainly. And if we can stop him, if we can get one house to be, in fact, an obstacle to what he wants to accomplish, especially the U.S. House of Representatives, then I guarantee you, this could have been the turning point in America. His election, your reaction to it, the fact that you are here, Tea Party Nation, is the best thing that ever happened to America. Yeah! So, take hope. Take hope. I know that we look at so many things that we are worried about, and certainly, believe me, I am worried, I am frustrated. So many times I think to myself, Lord, can we hang on to this? You know, is he driving us too far, too fast? Will we ever be able to get it back? And we all worry. The press is so astounded that people like us are here. They can't understand it. They look at us and think, well, they must be radicals. They must be a fringe element. But there's nothing fringe about simply wanting the President of the United States and the members of the Congress to actually read and uphold the Constitution. Is that so fringe? Yeah. That is is not a fringe idea. It is not a fringe idea to want your government to protect your borders. There's nothing fringe about that. How many people have to die, as Bill Gates said, how many people have to die before the people who are running sanctuary cities and sanctuary states understand that the blood of those people who died, that blood's on their head? When you run a sanctuary city, when you run a sanctuary country, and you let people into this country who kills some, guy in Colorado just a little bit ago, drunken driver, illegal alien, crashes into a Baskin and Robbins, kills 3 people, one a little kid, 9 years old, waiting, 3 years old, kid 3 years old waiting there to buy his ice cream cone, right? Okay, terrible tragedy. Now add this to that tragedy. Guy had been arrested 19 times. 19 times he had been pulled in for everything from drunk driving to drug trafficking. But because we have sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and sanctuary governments where someone who is identified as being here illegally breaks another law, nobody reports them to the federal government, nobody reports them to ICE, so they're free to go out and do it again and again, and finally they kill somebody. Then I'm telling you, all those elected officials who run these cities, states, and the federal government, they are culpable. They have the blood of those people on their hands. Am I supposed to not care? Am I supposed to be unconcerned about the fact that we have a president of the United States that calls our Constitution flawed? Am I supposed to be completely silent when the President of the United States of America travels around the world and badmouths the country he's supposed to be representing? I'm supposed to be quiet about that? Am I supposed to not look that way? I just kind of look the other way when the President of the United States blows off every one of our best allies and sucks up to every one of these left-wing dictators around the world. Am I supposed to just ignore that? How about when this president and all his cronies in the White House, when they try to incite class warfare, constantly telling people, oh, those corporations, those people making money, all these rotten people. Every time I hear that, I just picture that you remember that picture of Lenin on the back of the train car? He's telling them the same thing. We have to kill the bourgeoisie. They're the problem. Am I supposed to ignore the fact that this kind of political gamesmanship is really designed to destroy the America I believe in? How can I possibly not be concerned about a president of the United States that does not dream of an America that is the ideal of Adams and Washington and Jefferson, but instead he dreams of an America that's the ideal of Marx, Engels, and Saul Alinsky? How can I not be concerned about a president like this? There's a story that's going around right now about a 7-year-old kid who was returned by his adoptive parents. He was returned to Russia because the kid evidently was not what they had bargained for. It's completely different. He was a threat to the family, they thought. He was a danger, and they went on and on about all these things that were not what they thought they were getting. Sending a 7-year-old by himself back on an airplane is not a good idea, not a good thing to do. However, sending an adult who's turned out to be anything but what you expected, who's turned out to be a threat to the family and a threat to your country, and if his wife says that Kenya is his homeland, why don't we just send him back? I don't think that's too tough. Would not be a terrible thing to do. She thinks it's his homeland. I think he thinks more about it as his homeland than he does the United States. Let's send him back.